Japan saw many different games released on the PlayStation during its lifespan, and as we all know, there are a lot of fighting games that very few know about. So dating back as early as 1996, we see another unusual entry being released in this category, just simply known as Fist. Now to many this can seem confusing because a lot of the times if you try to search for this game online, you're usually met with results for other fighting games released on the system, mainly with Kensai, Sacred Fist, Shaolin, among a few others. So it gets caught up in that minefield of lost games as such, as a lot of the names are mainly too generic for them to even be found in the search results. So Fist is a very early fighting game that was released back in 1996 on the console, and truthfully, if you do go looking for it and you do happen to find anything from it, you might only find a paragraph or two. Now there are quite a few videos that are on YouTube about it, but when you actually go searching for articles or anything online with regards to information, you virtually won't find anything at all associated with this game whatsoever. As with a lot of games during this period, there's virtually nothing out there. The only way that you can understand any of the concepts behind many of these games is literally to try and play them for yourself, and that way then you can make up your own thoughts and opinions on them, and this game really is no different in that respect. As it's an early fighting game, it is reflective in its visual style and graphics. You have very blocky characters with limited movesets while they do walk, and it plays very similar to the likes of the early Tekken or the first Tekken game, but it wouldn't be as well polished in many regards. But it has enough appeal with a lot of very kind of like colourful and cutesy style characters that is almost more cartoony in its approach compared to other fighting games, but will take somewhat longer in order to complete matches if you're playing through the campaigns, as even on the easiest difficulties you are required to fight through many different rounds. In most cases with many fighting games you usually have 2 to 3 rounds at best to win matches. In this game you have to do a minimum between 4 and 5. Even if you try to change some of the options in the menu, you still will end up having to complete multiple rounds against the same character. While it tried to be different, in many cases for most people, I know from my own self from playing this, it can get repetitive quite quickly, because after 1 or 2 rounds you quickly want to move on to the next opponent, but if you're having to fight the same person over again for 5 rounds and for it to continue on, it will start to frustrate people quite quickly. And I think that's, for me, from my own personal experience of having spent time playing this, that is definitely one of its letdowns. But like I said, it is one of those games that you can only really get something out of it from the time that you put into it. Now you do have different modes with regards to like a scenario, like a campaign versus mode, practice mode and so forth, so you can put some time into it to understand the characters' limits and abilities. And mind you, many of the characters that you do come across in the game are limited in terms of the various movesets that they have at their disposal, and it'll take quite a while to understand various controls and input systems so that you can execute moves against your opponents. You'll find yourself having to just rely on 1 or 2 particular moves in order to really better your opponent as such, and some characters in many cases have even less limited move sets compared to others. Now it is simplistic in what it's trying to do. It is an arcade fighter after all. It's not going to break new ground. It's never going to be on the same level as Tekken really as such, not even close. It just tries to be something a little bit different in how it approaches itself, and it's more experimental more than anything else, and that's the way a lot of these games from Japan were pretty much released as. They do appeal to a few, but they won't appeal to everybody. But it just is interesting to explore a lot of these games because there's so many of them out there on the PlayStation. Like, I kid you not, the amount of games that I'm finding from this region that I didn't even know existed up until recently truly is incredible. Like, the PlayStation is home to so many games. It's just completely unreal and insane. And I know myself that I haven't even begun to even scratch the surface of what is out there. There's just so many more there that you'll be playing and exploring games for quite a long time. But then again, that's not such a bad thing because it means then I can create a lot more content for the channel. So there's always going to be something out there to explore and find along the way. And I think that's what makes the console's experience truly unique, is that there is something for everybody, but yet there is a lot out there that people don't know about. And they are worth venturing into, and it is worth going down that rabbit hole to try and find many of these games, or to try and just see what's out there. As you'll be surprised, you will find something that you probably will like, but you will come across a few games that you probably won't like either, and that's just just part of the process. It is what you make of it at the end of the day. All in all, it's not a half bad fighting game. Now, it's very simplistic compared to other fighters out there, or it is very limited, but it's not the worst fighter I've ever played. But it is worth a try regardless. It's just there's such a lack of information online, it's hard to really know what is going on with regards to this game. As yes, the characters do have their own plots and twists with their own story arcs, which you will need to play through in order to complete. But because there's so limited amount of information online, it just will be hard to describe it in many ways. It really will just come down to you playing it for yourself. But if you have managed to experience this game, I would love to know your thoughts of it and what do you think of it overall. Did you enjoy it, or maybe not so much? Or would you prefer other types of fighters that were released on the PlayStation? So be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be updated of future videos. And if you would like to see more content around other types of fighting games that were also released on the PlayStation, specifically from Japan, then you can check out the playlist on the screen to see more of those games in action. And as always, keep those gaming memories alive.